Hi, this is Isha, the Mad Scientist, and today I'm going to be doing something a little different, starting a new series which I'm going to call Elder Stories. And I'm going to be speaking with someone who came into my life as my dad's partner when I was about 8 years old. So I call him my bonus dad. He is 79 years old, a gay man, artist, grandfather, and veteran. I'm going to ask some questions to prompt some stories. I hope you enjoy them, and let's get to it. Hi, David. Thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me over, Isha. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak of my history. I guess this is what we're going to do.
Happy to have you. So you don't strike me, because I know you pretty well, as someone who's like pro-war or pro the government or the military very much.
Yeah.
But I know you served. So like at that time, what made you want to join the military?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
And what branch did you join?
Well, I joined the Marine Corps. Little old me joined the Marine Corps. When I tell people that, they go, "What? He was the Marine Corps?" Yeah, well, how that started is my cousin and I, Jimmy, he was a year younger than me, and he was my mother's sister's son, Aunt Sally's son, Jimmy. And when we were, 17 and 18, you could drink legally outside of town. They had what they called minor bars.
I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
When did they stop doing that?
That was,
when did they stop? When did that become illegal? When was it 21 only?
Oh, well, that was much later.
Yeah.
But I'm leading up to that.
So what year is this that we're talking about?
This is about 57, I guess.
Okay.
No, it had to be 60s. Because I already graduated from high school in 60. So it was a couple of years later. So anyway, Jim kept getting in trouble. He'd go out drinking, and then he'd come home drunk, and his mother and father be upset with him, and so they got into big rows about it, and pretty soon they kicked him out. They said, "Get the hell out of here. We don't want you in the house anymore." So he went to live with my Aunt Kate, which was the sister to Sally. So he went to live with Kate and Donald, but he couldn't stay there very long because there just wasn't room for him, and couldn't work out that he could be with them for very long. So he decided that he was going to join the Marines. And so he called me up one day and he said, "David," he said, "take me down to the Marine Corps station in town. I want to join the Marines. You have a car, I don't. Drive me down there." I said, "Well, okay." So I did, and he went into the back room, got signed up, and I'm sitting in the waiting room reading a magazine, and all of a sudden one of the Marines recruiters comes and sits down next to me. He says, "Oh, hey, buddy, what are you up to?"
Predatory recruiting.
And I said, "Well, I'm reading a magazine." He said, "Well, you have a responsibility of you have to give 4 years to the country, so..."
At that time, did you have to?
Yeah, it was mandatory.
When did that go away, do you know?
I'm not sure when that happened.
It was
Probably after the Vietnam War, I think it was, yeah.
So after they forced people into the draft,
Yeah.
then it was like, okay, we're going to change the way we do this.
Yeah.
Because I know that was something that Obama was talking about bringing back, was like mandated service. And it could be like Peace Corps or like helping homeless, or
that would be good.
Or it could be military service, but just like some way to do community service as part of your education.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me then, it was because I had been laid off. We were going through a big recession in those days, and so I didn't have a job, and I was collecting unemployment, and there was no real future. I mean, I had no goals. I was just sort of drifting. And so the recruiter said, "So, you have a responsibility to, pay your debt to the country. So why don't you do it right away, right now? You could join with your cousin, and you could go in at the buddy system, and you'll stay together the entire time."
Was that honest?
It's true. It was true. Yeah, we did. And so I said, "Well, okay." So I signed up too. And then,
so it's just you didn't have like this. Is this this big moment where you were trying to make a decision? It was just that day, and you were like,
pretty much that day.
I was like, why not? I don't have a job right now.
That's right. It was pretty much that.
You didn't think I might have to kill people or I could be killed?
Never thought about that.
Not at all.
Never thought about that. No, it was just, well, we were at peace. We were at peace.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I have to get my military obligation out of the way. Okay. So
everybody had to join the military at some time back then?
At some point.
Even if you went to college?
Well, you could get a deferment, but that came out much later, yeah. So, so August, it was, let me see, it was in July, and then August 1st, I think it was, that we shipped out. So I went home that day, and my dad, we were at the supper table, and my dad says, well, how'd it go with Jim at the recruiting station? I said, yeah, he signed up. And he said, well, how was that for you? I said, well, I signed up too.
Didn't even talk to your parents about it. Were you still living with your parents at the time? I didn't say anything to them. I was on my own pretty much. Yeah. And I said, so, we're shipping out on August 1st, I think it is. Well, my mother, she burst into tears. Oh my God, what are you about there? I mean, she was aware of the risks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so...
You hadn't even thought of it.
I had no clue that I was going to do anything else of the kind. And so off we went. And August 1st, we got on the Greyhound bus and went down to the recruiting station, and they drove us away, and then got on an airplane and flew to San Diego. And we were in... what was called the Marine Corps station down there, San Diego. And I really loved it. I mean, I was glad to get away from home. You know, there was nothing for me really at home anymore, and so I was going to see the world now, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
Basic training was rough, I have to tell you. That was hard.
Boot camp.
Boot camp, yeah. There are several stages at boot camp that you go in. You're in at the recruiting station in San Diego for a couple of weeks. And then after that, then you're shipped off to Camp Pendleton, where you learn how to shoot the rifle. You know, you get real good at shooting. And they have different stages, you know, marksman, expert, and sharpshooter. And so we're there, and... you see, how's it go? We were in Camp Pendleton. But like I say, I was green as grass. I had never traveled anywhere. And then suddenly I'm in California. And it was like, wow, this is palm trees.
Yeah.
I've never seen a palm tree in my life.
Did you have any firearm experience, like hunting as a kid or anything?
Oh, yes. Yeah. My dad and I did hunt. Yeah. And I gave that up, though. And then he was very upset with me when I gave it up. Must be an old tradition, our family's tradition. You go hunting with me. I said, yeah, but I don't want to do that anymore, Dad. You know, those deer are out there trying to make a living too. I don't want to kill them. He was really huffed out. So, but anyway, going back into the Marines, and so then we were at the shooting range, and there was a particular pose, I guess, or a position to shoot the rifle. You'd have to tie the sling from the rifle around your arm and then lay down on the ground and hold it so that it was really steady, you know, so that you have a real steady shot at the target. And what had happened, the sling was so tight that my hand became numb and dead. And this is called sling palsy. Well, I kept it under wraps. I didn't let anybody know this, but so I was going along now mostly with one hand. I couldn't pick up anything go through the chow line. You know, I couldn't pick up the silverware with this hand. And so I did everything with my right hand. But I got caught finally because you have to assemble in your platoon. And when you assemble, you have to get behind each other and you go 18 inches apart. You put your arm out like this, your left arm, so to make sure there's the right distance between everybody. Well, when I put my arm out like that, my hand went down like that. I couldn't lift it up. And then my drill instructor, he noticed that and he said, "What the fuck are you doing, Taff? You're trying to be limp-wristed. What's all that about?" And I said, "I'm sorry, sir. I can't lift my hand. My arm is numb," and like blah, 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 blah. What? Okay, so they sent me to sick bay, and they said that I had what they called sling palsy. It was the worst case they'd ever seen.
Wow, because you didn't tell anyone for
I
so
didn't tell
long?
anybody about
So
it.
this was something that happened when you were practicing shooting, but then it didn't get better after you took the sling off?
No.
It just kept getting worse?
It just was as bad as it was. And I don't know if it got any worse, but it was as bad as it could be. When I went home on Liberty to be with my parents after boot camp, my dad had a car that you had to put a key in on the left-hand side to turn it. I didn't have the strength to turn that key. I had to turn like this, And then people at home started noticing that, and they said, "David, what the hell happened?" I said, "Well, I had an accident, and I got hurt, and but I'm okay. I didn't wash out. I did not want to wash out. They were going to. They said you could plead.
So is there a treatment for that?
A long time, just a time, and you have a rubber ball in your hand, but I couldn't even squeeze that.
Yeah, so you like physical therapy, getting the strength back.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I say, I didn't wash out, and things got a little better, and then our platoon assembled at one point for some reason, and the drill instructor wanted to talk to us about things, and we were just about ready to ship out. We were almost finished with the end of our training time. And he said, "Now listen, you guys, I want to talk to you about somebody here in our platoon. I think that I would like to have at least 10 more of him like this guy." And Brock going, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, this guy, he did it all with one hand tied behind his back, practically. Taff, stand up. So then everybody else knew.
So were you doing like monkey bars and rope climbing without being able to use your left hand?
Yeah, all that. I did all.
How did you climb a rope ladder
Well, I did it like this.
Wow.
And
then no instructors noticed while you were doing that?
Not at all, no.
They're not paying much attention then.
They weren't paying much attention. But
As long as you're not slow, right?
Where it really got caught, where I really was, where it showed up, and this was dangerous. We were what they called maneuvers off of a boat. We were with the sailors at this time, and we were supposed to climb down a cargo net into a small boat that's going up and down with the waves, and the men are working the cargo net so you keep it tight. Because if it bags, you could fall into that bag and get squished against the boat and the ship. So going down was no problem. I had no problem going down. And another thing, you have a backpack on, which is about 40 pounds, and you have a helmet on, which is 12 pounds. And most of the other fellows, they carried the M1 rifle, which was 7 pounds. Well, I carried the automatic rifle, which was the BAR, which was 13 pounds.
Is that because you were a better shooter or something?
I don't know why they assigned me that or not, but I did shoot well. I mean, I achieved marksman.
Which is the best?
Which, no, expert is the best, yeah.
Okay.
But I only missed it by that much. So anyway, going down was no problem. We got in the duck. It was called a duck, and you get in the duck, and then you sail off, and you hit the beach, and the door flies open, and you all run out, just like Iwo Jima. And so we were hitting the beach, and we're doing our thing, and then we're all done with all that maneuver, and we're climbing back in the boats, go back to the ship. The nets come down, and we're climbing up the net now. Okay, well, I'm almost to the top, and it's quite a ways from the, I don't know what the distance between the top of the ship and down to the bottom, but it was quite a distance. Anyway, so I'm almost at the top, and I just could not go any further. I mean, I was doing this, hooking my hand, and then my lieutenant saw me, and he saw that I was in trouble. And so he quickly came down and grabbed the hole. He said, "Taff, what's the matter?" I said, "My arm's giving out. I can't go any further." So he pulled me up over the top. I was really ashamed of that because it got around that Taff had to be helped up. But then it was also told that, well, he was doing it with one arm.
Yeah.
And that's what my drill instructor later on referred to. He said, he gung-ho, that's what you call you. He was gung-ho. felt so great about that because most of my life, I was pretty much considered the sissy. Mm-hmm. I'd rather play with the girls than play basketball with the boys. So that's sort of a reputation I had. And my cousin Jim was in that same, well, he was in the same platoon, but he was in the other platoon, but we were all still together. And so he heard that I got praise, that if I had a whole platoon of men just like Taff, I would be very happy. And so that really made me feel great. And there was another time when we were on a forced march. It was a 25-mile forced march. And so we're going along, and I mean, we are sweating.
You're running, or?
No, you're walking as fast as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, as fast as you can. And our captain, they called him Long Legs, Daddy Long Legs, because he was a quite tall man, and he could really distance. So we had to try to keep up with him. So we're going along a couple into this a while, and oh man, all of a sudden people are starting to fall out, and then I noticed that somebody had fallen off above me, and there was two lines going up this road, and so I was on the right-hand side, and the other was on the left, and then as I got closer, I went, holy shit, that's Jimmy. Jimmy just fell out, and he looked pale, and he was ashen color, and the corpsman was with him, and so I broke rank and I ran right over there and I said, Jimmy, what's wrong? And then the drill instructor, he gets on my case. Taff, what are you breaking ranks for? I said, well, this is my cousin. I don't give a shit if you're cousin or not. Get back in line. So I had to get back where I belong. And Jim just looked at me like I thought he was going to die.
Oh, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah,
and you're just dehydrated or something?
Yeah, that's what it was. That was a problem. Yeah. And so...
Did they not have you get, they don't have hydration packs or water or anything?
We had our canteens, but you couldn't just have a drink when you wanted. You were on the forced march. You were busy
So
hiking.
there was water breaks.
Oh, there would be a water break, yeah. So
drink as much as you can when you can then, right?
Right. So eventually we got to the destination, and then it was dark by this time, and so they trucked us back to our barracks. And when we started taking off our clothes and getting our gear, putting the gear away, I took off my boots, and you could wring the sweat out of your socks. That's how sweaty we all were. I mean, we were just perspiration everywhere. But the worst part of it was our heels had been torn off. Actually, you know how your heel is rounded like that? Yeah. Well, it was pulled away.
Blisters?
It blistered so hard. Yeah. And some of the guys, they were so bad. I mean, their skin was just flopped off of here, it's like this, part of it here, it just flopped over. And so mine wasn't so bad. I mean, I had one little blister, and it was like getting ready to come away.
Yeah.
But the other fellows, it had already broken away.
It's interesting to me that instead of slowly training for something like that, there's also the mental aspect of we're training you in case your plane goes down and you have to hike 40 miles to the town.
Yeah.
So they're also training you for what if you are in a horrible situation and you just have to keep going despite these blisters?
That's right.
Instead of training you to walk long distances by starting with 5 miles and then 10 and then 20.
You'd think so, but that's not how it was all, you had to be tough and you had to be gung-ho about it too. And then he got a lot of criticism because what good are your men if their heels are all worn off?
Well, that's what I mean.
Go to fight.
Exactly.
They can't fight now.
So it's not proper training.
No,
that's called overtraining if you jump straight into something that injures you.
Right. Well, eventually he was replaced. They got rid of that CO and we got another fellow.
Do you mind if I ask you a question about sexuality as it relates to the military?
I kept that under wraps completely.
But so you say you kept it under wraps. Does that mean at that age you already knew that you were homosexual or bisexual?
Well, I considered myself bisexual at that point because I had only had a sexual relationship with my one friend. and that was it. You know,
So
there
was that
no-
strange to be in like boot camp showers and stuff with a bunch of men that you were also attracted to?
I just sort of put blinders on.
Yeah.
I couldn't allow myself to be excited about any of the men.
Yeah.
And there was one or two fellows that I really got acquainted with, and I really liked them a lot. Swafford was one of them. He was really a swell guy. And also Thomas Dorfler. He was a corpsman, and he came into our barracks one night. He was assigned to us, and but he was a sailor. And there's always this sort of rub between the Marines and the sailors. There's this constant kind of palaver going between them. Mm-hmm. And so it was late when he arrived, and he shared my cubicle with me. There's four guys in the cubicle.
These are sleeping cubicles?
There's their bunk bed, bunk bed, and then you have your lockers here and lockers here. And the cubicle's open in the front, so you can see in. So anyway, Thomas, he got in very late, and he was unpacking his stuff, and I was there. I didn't go out on Liberty that night. I stayed in, and so we got to talking, and he was a really swell guy. I liked him a lot, and then some of the fellows came in from a drunken spree. They were coming back into the base. They had to be back in a certain hour or two, and so they were drunk. And one of them was Tom's. His name was Tom's. And as soon as he saw the corpsman, he got on his back and he started harassing him and getting all over his case. And then finally, I just had to step in and say, Tom's, you're drunk. Hit the rack now, or else you're going to be a report. And so he went on his way.
So he listened to you. It didn't start a fist fight.
No, it didn't start a fist fight. But then Tom Dorfler, he said, God, thank you so much for stepping in. I didn't know what I was going to do. That guy's drunk and he's tough. And my first night here, I get a black eye. Thank you for stepping in. And we became fast friends after that.
Are you still in contact at all, or do you know if he's still alive?
I have no idea. I lost touch with him after that, after we left. But there was one incident where one of the corporals, you have what is called fire watch, and you are in charge of the barracks all night long and you walk around and make sure everything's secure, and you have a station that you sit at, and then every few minutes you go check things out. Well, some of the men were coming back drunk, and they all hit the rack, and they were all like passed out, Well, he thought that he was going to be able to sexually molest one of these fellows. Well, he did, and he got caught at it. And so they were going to drum him out of the Marines. And when you get drummed out of the Marines, what happens is the entire company assembles on the grinder. They call it the grinder, a big field where you march around on. And they march you out to the center of it. They rip off your stripes and turn you around and point you to the door, to the gates, and they escort you out. But what they do is they turn their back on you as you go. And this is very humiliating, of course. Yeah. And then, what was his name again?
That's somewhat encouraging to hear, because you hear about abuse being like brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was like caught and then immediately disciplined and let go.
He immediately was disciplined.
That's good.
Yeah. And he said, if you drown me out, I'm going to commit suicide, if you make me go through that. And so they took him seriously, and they didn't assemble the battalion. They just quietly marched him out. And so I don't know Montgomery. His name was Montgomery, by the way. Yeah. And so, and then I thought, holy Jesus Christ, that could be terrible. So I kept, I didn't make any moves at all towards.
Sounds like there needs to be two people on watch to watch each other.
Right.
Well, what is a memorable camping trip that you really remember?
Oh, yes. Well, I was still married back then, and we went on this camping trip to Northern California. I believe it was Idlewild.
Did you have kids at the time?
Pardon me?
Did you have kids at the time?
Yes.
How old were they?
David was, I guess he was 7, and Renee was about 5.
All right.
And my friends, Dennis and Darlene, they were good friends of mine. I knew Dennis from high school, for grade school actually, and we were fast friends for longest time. And so we were going to go on this trip to Idlewild, his wife and his 2 kids, and that was his boys' names were David and Donnie. And David and Donnie were a little bit older than my kids. They were just 1 or 2 years older. So anyway, we get up to where we were going to camp, and we start unloading the gear and getting our tents all set up. And so in the meantime, the kids wanted to go play. And so they wanted to play cowboys and Indians. And so they decided to build themselves a little fort out of wood that was laying about.
As boys do.
Pardon me?
As boys do.
As the boys do, yeah, as they do. And so they had it pretty well together. It was pretty high already. It was about, maybe 2.5 feet off the ground, little log cabin they made. And they were in and out playing back and forth. And Renee, she was in the inside of the little log cabin. And so we're busy, doing our stuff and unpacking everything. And all of a sudden, the boys start screaming, "Rattlesnake, rattlesnake!"
Oh boy!
And we all go, "Oh, come on, now don't play around. No, rattlesnake!"
You didn't even believe them because they
didn't believe them at
they just
first.
make stuff up all the time.
They do.
Yeah.
And we thought it was just part of their game, And so, but then when I looked over to where they were, the boys were climbing over the top of the little log cabin, but Renee was still inside, and she couldn't crawl over the top.
How sturdy was this thing?
She was. It was pretty sturdy,
strong enough that they could stand on top.
Yeah,
and she wasn't going to
crawl right over the top,
on her.
and it didn't fall over. Yeah.
Okay.
And so she was still on the inside, and so I went running over there. They said, "No, really, rattlesnake." And I said, "Okay." So I ran over, and sure enough, a rattlesnake had crawled in to that little log cabin and was right next to Renee's foot, right next to, and she didn't see it. So what I did, holy crap! So I picked her up straight away, and then it coiled, and you could hear it rattling like hell. And so, oh my God! So I pulled her out just in time, and then my friend Dennis, he grabbed a stick and he went after it and he killed it. Then I said, "You better watch out. There might be another one. They travel in pairs."
Yeah.
So that was about it. It was pretty exciting and it was scary because Renee could have been bitten.
Yeah. How well did you guys sleep that night after that happened?
With one eye open.
Yeah.
No, we didn't have a problem with bears. We were really worried about bears mostly, but never saw a bear. It was not in the mix that time. So that was pretty much it. Another time we went to Crater Lake in Oregon, I believe it is, and that was really beautiful up there. The reflection in that lake is unbelievable. It's just upside down. When you see the landscape, in the reflection in the water, it just looks like the whole world is upside down. That water is so clear and so beautiful. And so we had a nice time up there too, but it didn't have a snake involved. So
well,
pretty much
that we still have time, so could I ask you another question?
Sure.
Have you ever gotten into a real physical fight with someone, like a brawl or?
My brother.
Yeah. But like more than just roughhousing and playing around?
It was more than roughhousing and playing around, yeah. My parents had gone away for the afternoon. They were out shopping or whatever, and my little sister Patty and I and Danny, my younger brother, 4 years younger than I, we were in the house and I was in charge, and he was misbehaving. And so we got into a scuffle about it. And he got really angry with me. And so he sort of was laying in wait for me.
You know how old you guys were at this time?
I was about 12 and Danny was, what would it be? Anyway, he was... So he got mad. And
he was younger than you or older?
No, he's younger.
Okay.
4 years younger.
Okay, so he's 8. You were 12 and he was 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, I got the better of him and he went off huffing and puffing. And then I didn't think too much more of it. I went into one of the bedrooms to do something in there. And then when I came out, he was laying in wait for me. And he hit me as hard as he could right in the stomach. Oh. Well, that doubled me over. I mean, as big as I was, I doubled over. And he's going, ha, 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 I gotcha, ha, ha, I gotcha. I said, when I get up, you better not be in this house. You better not let me find you because I'm going to give you back twice as bad. Well, when I got up, he was gone. So I didn't see him until much later on in the day. But that was one of our fights. My brother was, God love him, I wish we could have gotten along better. But because I think of the age difference between us, we didn't gel because I had older friends and he wanted to tag along and my friends didn't want him around. So he was always shunned and pushed aside, and so that bothered him. And
so did he leave the house after you saved him?
Yeah, he left the house.
It wasn't really a fight. It's more like he sucker punched you, right. And you got in a lot of pain. Does that count as a fight?
Well, there was another one too. When I was about the same age, there was the popular song "Rock Around the Clock" with Bill Haley and the Comets. 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rocks, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock rocked. And so I had an old 2x4 pretending it was a guitar. And I'm rocking and rolling down in the basement. And Danny sneaks down on the stairs and he's watching me. And then all of a sudden he bursts out laughing. Oh, he's making fun of me. Well, that didn't go over well with me. And so I went after him and we were chasing around. Finally I got a hold of him. And we were fighting back and forth. And then finally he said, I give. And I really regret that. That was really uncalled for to put that much anger out over that. But I have to say, maybe we had a little dysfunctional family kind of thing going down, and we didn't realize it. Yeah. And that's just the way we thought we should be.
All families have a little bit of dysfunction.
Yeah.
You know.
And so, so he was always like a little thorn in my side and irritated the hell out of me. Actually, my older sister felt the same way about me. She was 4 years older than I, and she was already in high school and, dating, and she'd bring her dates around, and then I'd want to sit around and watch, hide under the couch or whatever it is, Yeah. And then she'd get so angry with me about that. And,
I would imagine.
Yeah. But, we were always sort of at odds with each other as far as my siblings. Only my younger sister, Patty. She was 4 years younger now than Dan. And my mom had to work. Dad was doing all right, but I guess they just felt that they needed more cash in the house or whatever, so she went to work, and so I had to take care of Patty a lot. And she became my little favorite. I mean, we were as close as two peas in a pod, and we've remained that way till this day. I mean, my older sister didn't pay much attention to me during our adolescence. And it's only now, since Dan died, that I'm really getting back in touch with Irene, my sister. Toots, we call her.
What was the age difference between all your siblings?
Well, it was 4 years. Why my mother and father decided to have 4 years between us all, I'll never guess. I'll never know.
And how many siblings do you have?
There were four. There was four of us.
4 total.
Yeah. My sister Irene, and then me, and then Dan, and then Patty.
And every 4 years, every kid?
Every 4 years between.
They're like, oh, look at that. It's been 3 years. Better get pregnant.
Better get busy. Yeah. So that was that. But, and because of that, it caused consternation between us.
Does that mean there was 16 years between the oldest and the youngest?
Yeah.
That's a huge age gap.
That's a big difference, yeah.
Yeah.
My aunts and uncles, they all had between 2 years between each kid, which was pretty much normal. But I don't know why they wanted to wait that long. Anyway, that's that with that.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for sitting down and telling some stories. I'd love to do this again sometime.
Sure, I'd love to tell you more stories. Yeah, I got a million of them.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You made it till the end of the video. Congratulations. I'm curious, did you learn anything about the past listening to these stories? Is there a question that you'd wish I'd asked? Please let me know down in the comments and maybe I could ask it next time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.